Hey guys, and welcome to this video. Today I'm doing a flight attendant Q&A. I've received a lot of questions in my comments from you guys about being a flight attendant, so I'm here to answer all your questions. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Bree and I'm a flight attendant in Australia. I vlog about the flight attendant life, so if that interests you, definitely hit that subscribe button. I thought that if one person asks a question, perhaps there's other people that might have that same question, so I thought I'll make a video about it all. If you guys have any other questions about being a flight attendant, leave them in the comments, because if I get enough comments, I might do another video like this answering those questions. So if you want those questions answered, pop them in the comments. I'm really excited because this is my first video I'm filming in my new house, so that is very exciting. If you want to see those videos, I did a moving vlog and a house tour, and I'll pop those videos in the description for you guys. Anyway, so let's get into the questions. So the first question is from Bo Stark, and he said, does the company pay for room service? From my personal experience, my room service has never been paid for, although the airlines can make deals with hotels and give the crew free breakfast or discounts on room service or restaurants and things like that. So I have a question here from Siobhan Barber. And it says, do you have any other tips of how to overcome fatigue? So fatigue is a really important topic, and I could probably make a whole video on fatigue. Personally, what I've found is to get enough sleep, obviously, and to drink a lot of water and to nourish your body with good food. Fatigue is an extremely important topic, especially as a flight attendant, because you're working in a very safety critical role and you really need to be alert. If you don't manage your fatigue properly, then unfortunately things can go wrong. And you can really put yourself into danger and other people in danger. For instance, I won't share this story on here, but I personally have fallen asleep at the wheel driving home and things like that, and I could have easily killed myself and someone else. So yeah, I have a very soft spot for fatigue and managing your fatigue, and I think it is extremely important. Usually airlines have fatigue management systems in place, so at any point during your working shift you feel fatigued, you can basically be removed from your duty, put in a hotel, or you can get like a taxi to drive you home. Just really depends on the airline, of course. And I personally have definitely used those fatigue management systems because I know firsthand how important it is to look after your fatigue. This is by Stefan Daniels. Do you get picked up and dropped off at the airport by your company? I do when I'm on a layover. There is transport provided for us to and from the hotel, but at home I drive myself and I have free parking at the airport, and then I just make my way to the gates. So this is, I'm sorry I'm going to butcher your name, by Jacqueline Manquez. I hope that's right. And he asked, do you get food from the plane while on duty? And the answer is yes, we get crew food. So if we're working during breakfast, lunch or dinner, there is food provided for us. If there's any leftovers in business, then we can also eat that because it just gets thrown out. So yeah, there is food provided, which is really amazing. And also if we are on a layover and we leave the hotel really early, like 4 or 5 a.m, then we will get like a breakfast box from the hotel that the airline supplies for us. So yeah, that's really good as well. The next question is from Michelle Mary, and she asks, wondering if you carry overnight supplies with you on a day trip just in case you get delayed or diverted. That's a really good question. Personally, I don't usually, which is probably really bad. I probably should carry some overnight things because diversions and delays definitely do happen in the airline industry, and usually those things are out of our control, so it is always good to be prepared. Personally, I've only had an unscheduled overnight twice in my life. One was because our aircraft got hit by lightning, which probably is a story for another time, and the other time was when we did an extremely long day and it was the end of a trip, so I already had stuff with me from that trip, so that was fine. But yeah, it's never happened to me on a day trip, which I guess I've been really lucky, but I probably should bring some spare things just in case. Okay, so I got a question here from Mendy K, and she asked, can I be Jewish and be a flight attendant and take every 7th day off for Showbiz? And Showbiz is basically, she explained, it's where Jewish people have to rest and not work on Sundays. So personally, I'm a Christian and I try and get every Sunday off for my Sabbath, but of course with shift work you can never guarantee to get that day off. So I've been very lucky to be able to get a lot of my Sundays off, but there is the occasional Sunday where I have to work. So that's just part of being in shift work. Some days you have to work on the weekends. So it just depends if you're willing to make that sacrifice. If you get really good at your bidding system and requesting for certain days off, then you might get all your days off. It just really depends on your airline and what systems they have in place for you to be able to get certain days off. So I hope that answered your question. It's a really good question though. Okay, so I have a question here from Talthea Cannon, and she asked, is VA doing a full service, all inclusive, or is it more low cost? We offer tea, coffee and water complimentary, and then everything else you need to purchase, unless of course you're in business class where you get a full service basically as part of that fare. So I've got a question here from Ryan Brothers, and he asks, I've been thinking to do a vlog as a male US flight attendant, but not really sure how to start. I can only use my smartphone to record, can't buy camera. Any tips on how you start and what to focus on? That's a really good question. Personally, I don't think the gear is as important as just starting. Although I'm filming on a really nice camera and I really value those things like good audio and stuff, it's not necessary. And to be honest, half of the content on my vlogs is all just filmed on my iPhone, because there's some situations where you just don't want to whip out your camera and you just want to have an easy access to be able to make content. And like iPhone quality these days is amazing. You can film like 4K at 24 frames per second, and you can also do 60 frames per second or 50 frames per second, depends what country you're in. The quality is amazing these days. And in regards to your question, just make content that you enjoy watching yourself, because if you enjoy it, perhaps other people will enjoy it as well. So I have a question here from Jalisha. I'm about to start ground school. Just a quick question. Are you hired on a casual role? If so, roughly how many hours/days do you work in a month? Personally, I'm hired on a full-time role, so I can work up to 144 hours in a 28-day roster period. I definitely know that there are some roles in Australia that are a casual basis, so if that suits you better, perhaps go for those roles. But personally, I think it's really great to be full-time, because the last 2 years in the aviation industry have been pretty crazy, and being a full-time employee, has really protected me, which I'm very, very grateful for. So I have a question here from Sheeran Wild, and they say, have you had your vaccine yet, and will you, being a flight attendant? Personally, I'm fully vaxxed, and most of the airlines in Australia are saying that all employees have to be fully vaxxed to work. So Jay Hertz is basically asking about the pay scale and how flight attendants get paid. That is a whole video in itself, and I'll probably do a video about that, because there's so many different ways that flight attendants do get paid, and it does get a bit complicated, so I won't be able to probably cover that all in this video. But he does ask one interesting question that I will answer in this video, and that is, I know that US flight attendants get paid per diem, and also when their aircraft doors are shut. Is that the same with the Australian Airlines? I get paid for all the hours that I work. So if I'm working a 10-hour day, then I get paid for that whole 10 hours. So my day as a flight attendant usually starts 1 hour before the flight departs. So in that hour, it includes a pre-flight briefing with my crew. It includes me doing all my security checks on the aircraft, and it also includes boarding. So we get paid for all of that, and we also get paid for while we're sitting between flights, and we also get paid after we have disembarked the aircraft as well, which is usually 20 to 30 minutes after landing. And then on top of that, we get flight hours, so we get extra money when we're in the air. But I consider myself very lucky that we do get paid for those hours before and after and during the whole hours that we actually work. To be honest, I think that might be illegal in Australia to not get paid for the hours that you're working. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you know anything about that, because I'll be really curious to know. That was a really good question. Thank you for asking all these questions. So Claire asked, I was just wondering what your usual schedule is. How many days do you get off a week normally? To be honest, it isn't a set day off during a week. We get 9 days off in a 28-day roster period. So sometimes you get 1 day off, sometimes you get 3 days off, sometimes you get more days off in a row. It just really depends on your schedule. So I have a question here from J. Daniel Lawson, and he asks, is it possible that when you apply for a domestic role and you want to apply for an international role, is that possible to somehow transfer? So it is really dependent on the airline that you work for personally. If that airline does international routes, then perhaps you can transfer. I'm employed as a short haul international cabin crew, which includes all the islands around Australia, like New Zealand, Fiji, Vanuatu, Bali, like those types of things. But to be honest, I've only ever done one international flight, and that was to Bali. But if I was wanting to transfer to become an international flight attendant and do, say, the LA flights or the Hong Kong flights and things like that, I would have to wait for an international role to become vacant, and then I have to apply internally and get transferred. So it's like kind of applying for another role. In Australia, I don't think you can do the long haul international as well as doing domestic. I think it's either one or the other, unless you're doing those short haul routes, which I explained before. Some airlines only employ international people internally, and then some airlines employ international crew externally. That's what it was like pre-COVID. I don't know if perhaps maybe in the future it might be joint. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, but that's kind of what it was like pre-COVID. So I hope that answered your question. So Delbert asked, has your husband ever traveled with you, and will we get to meet him? Yeah, I think you guys have been able to kind of see him in some of my vlogs. If you guys want to meet him, and maybe we can do like a pros and cons of being a husband to a flight attendant or something like that, let me know in the comments if you're interested in that type of video. But yeah, he has come on a couple trips with me, and it's been really fun. And we've also done lots of traveling pre-COVID with the benefits that I have as a flight attendant. Okay, so this is the last question that I'm going to answer, and this is from AMS, and he asked, isn't standby and reserve the same? If yes, wouldn't you be in the airport that whole time? There's two types of standbys that I personally can be rostered at. The first one is airport standby, and that is where I'm at the airport for a certain amount of time. That's usually 5 hours, and I can be called at any point. Someone, goes sick or fatigued, or something happens, or there's delays, then I can just be called on the spot and go straight to a gate and work. Then if you don't get called on those 5 hours, you just go home. And then there's standby from home, which is usually like 10 to 12 hour period where you are on call, and if you do get called, you have 2 hours to get to the airport. Standby, reserve, same thing, but airport standby and standby from home are different things. But those are my questions. I really hope that you enjoy this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.